So what exactly does off-grid living mean is a term that gets floated around a lot, and like pretty much everything, it's all shades of grey, it's not black or white. So I consider myself off-grid because I am energy independent. All my electric for everything that I use is now coming from the sunlight since the awesome bloody pirate and my go-to DIY girl sorted my solar out. I am energy independent for that. I've got my wood to cook on and to heat my van. And for sewage, this is a book I think that everyone should read, Humanure Handbook. And there you go, there's the author. But the Humanure Handbook is it's one of those books that slightly creeps people out when they see it on your bookshelf, which is always a good reason to have it. But it literally has everything in it that you need to know about how to compost, humanure. So that's what I would term as being off-grid for me. And I say I've got my rainwater collection. I've now got a gravity water filter system, so my rainwater can now be my drinking water as well. So that's quite exciting. I've not tested it out yet, but I mean, I do have a hose pipe still where I am at the moment for a little while longer. So I am going to be making the most out of that, I think, before I don't have it. So yeah, that's kind of what I consider as off-grid living. But as you'll notice, I obviously still have like internet, and I still have phone connections, and I still engage with civilization and technology. So like I was saying, it's all different shades of grey. And what do we consider the grid? So I mean, there is at its core two sides to it, I think. So there is energy and power independence and food sustainability. A lot of people, you know, the things that people rely on the grid for, the things that people would struggle for if SHTF happened and the grid went down, would be where would they get food, where would they get power, where would they get water, what would they do with their waste, and what would they do with their rubbish? Because I mean, in the UK, in Birmingham a few years ago, there was a strike, and it sent the city into disarray and panic. And you've kind of got to think, if you've got very tightly packed streets, you're quickly going to kind of start getting outbreaks like dysentery and cholera coming back, especially if there's no medical system to be there. So yeah, that leads me nicely on to my next point, the healthcare system. That is something that you don't have a choice really about engaging with. I've mentioned before, like I've got a few different health things, and so for me, the next off-grid step is scary enough because it will mean that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to access hospital treatments and appointments. But I've got some awesome hospital people that know me very well and are doing everything to make it as easy as possible. So massive thank you to them. But yeah, that's one thing for people to think about. If SHTF, you're going to be responsible for your own, you know, healthcare, dentistry. So it's one of those things. I mean, I know quite a lot of herbal remedies and can, you know, would be quite happy doing basic first aid. But I mean, what happens if, like, you know, recently, like, I've had to like have like dental work done. If you've got really bad toothache and no access to a dentist, your only option is going to be a friend with a bottle of whiskey, hopefully, and a pair of pliers if SHTF. So I mean, that is one part of the grid that I will still be engaging with. Likewise with communications. I mean, if the grid goes down, I have got my own CB, and I've got a really decent aerial, and I've got a good amplifier as well. So I'm in contact with people over my CB. But as you'll notice, I'm still, you know, I've got a YouTube account, and I'm still kind of in the technology frame. So again, I'm kind of like having my cake and eating it, really. I'm getting to do the off-grid, live like SHTF happens before it does sort of thing, while still getting to enjoy the perks of civilization. And yeah, I will be putting up a video of me getting a takeaway ordered to a hedgerow soon, so so yeah, keep subbed for that one. But yeah, the reliance on the grid that we've got, we can start getting off it in little baby steps. Like I've said, I'll link to the video that I put up with basic starting blocks for energy conservation and looking after your water use. But you know, it doesn't have to be a massive lifestyle change. If you do it little bit by little bit, then, you know, 6 years later you'll find yourself going off to live in a woodland with a stream as your water supply, and I'm going on some mad crazy adventures. So yeah, it's once you kind of get into it, once you get into the off-grid kind of sustainability scene, you'll meet some absolutely amazing people, you'll find some absolutely amazing communities, and I think it's brilliant that there's so much discussion amongst different people, and there's so many people with different motivations. Like, I love that people are, like, you know, going off grid because they're preppers, not because they're wanting to be eco-friendly, although, you know, for me it's a bit of both. But yeah, it's fantastic, whatever the reason is. It's I advised someone recently on some solar installation, and it was because in case a zombie pandemic happened, and you know what, I was like, yeah man, fair play, that's exactly the same result, and you're totally sorted for whatever happens now anyway with your solar. So whatever your motivations for going off the grid or becoming free of the grid, then, you know, I think you should go for it. It makes sense. It's always good to be self-reliant and to be reliant upon yourself, but you will learn living off grid that community is important. And yeah, that is one thing I think that a lot of preppers need to consider if SHTF happens. And a lot of people talk about online how they could go and survive on their own for months and months and months. I think that, yeah, definitely lockdown, anyone else that's had to do any shielding or whatever, you know, solitary confinement, my good God, it sends you insane. So I mean, do kind of plan for company if you're gonna be like in a bunker, not in a kind of Cloverfield Lane kind of style, but yeah, just make sure that you and your friends are together and are safe, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter. So preppers getting off the grid and becoming self-sufficient, I think, is absolutely amazing. And yeah, once more again, everyone should read the Humanure Handbook. So even if you're not really interested in it, it will, if mother-in-law comes around, put it on the coffee table and you'll get an odd look. There you go. Right, Pixie out.